Hello, everyone watching. Happy Wedding Wednesday. My name's Lindsay. If this is your first time watching the show, welcome to the show. And if you have been here before with us, welcome back. To those who don't know, every Wednesday, myself or someone from my team, from my company, Mode Events, hops on here. We have a live broadcast every week on Wednesdays. Makes sense. And we air at 7 p.m. Central. I say that because I am based in Chicago. We also have team members on the East Coast and the West Coast. So that would be 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. So now that I have that covered, you may or may not know that today we're actually going to talk about getting engaged. So if you are watching and you yourself are engaged and planning a wedding, hopefully this video is helpful to you. We always try to provide content that is helpful to couples that are getting engaged. We do have a lot of viewers who are wedding vendors as well. So if you are a wedding vendor or if you're engaged, or looking to be engaged, welcome to the show. Without further ado, we can get started. So I hope my earrings aren't clanking too much. I did put my earpods on, so hopefully you can not hear the clanking of my jewelry. Message me in the comments if you can, if it's annoying. But pour yourself a drink, like we say in the intro of the show. This broadcast is meant to make the planning process more enjoyable. Not that it's not enjoyable, but there's a lot that goes on during the planning process if you haven't already discovered. And we find that beverages make things better, whether they're alcoholic or non-alcoholic. Today I'm drinking rosé, and this is actually from Costco. I really like it. Let me have a taste and explain how it tastes. It's really light and nice. It's not too sweet. Not that Costco is a sponsor, but I just like to share all the tips possible with you guys. So again, if you're watching through our Facebook page or if you're watching through Twitch, the Mode Events site, feel free to drop a comment at any point during the broadcast if you have a question. Comment if you want to address something from a previous episode, whatever you want to talk about. I am here for you. Generally, we talk for about an hour, but we'll see how today goes since it's just me. I'm not having a guest, but I do have a lot of important information to share with you. So the reason why we chose to talk about engagement season today is because we are in the middle of engagement season. Happy Hanukkah, by the way, to those who celebrate. I feel like I need like a blowhorn, ding, 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 as my DJ friend Chris Cutt does when she does her live streaming on Twitch, but a little air horn there. And then an early Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. We're actually not going to be live next week because we are taking time off to be with family. So, I don't know if you can see, but I'm gonna pull my lamp over. I have like some holiday decor. That's the best I can do in my tiny apartment. But I'm going on tangent. So if you are engaged, we will talk about what you should focus on next. And first, I want to start with things to consider when you are proposing. So if you're a bride or a groom and you're proposing to your loved one, your soon-to-be spouse, crazy to think about if you're not already there, just some things to think about before you actually pop the question. What I found, of course, like an engagement ring helps. So I'm like a cat, anything sparkly, sign me up. But have an engagement ring, if you so please. Not necessary, but I think that'd be nice. I would recommend telling their family, just so they can be in the loop. Maybe they can help you in some way. I don't know if you want to hire a photographer or even have friends or family try to capture the moment. We've seen that happen successfully, and it's really, really cool to have those pictures. I would also find out what kind of engagement ring your soon-to-be spouse wants. That way you're on the same page with things and they're not stuck with a ring that they don't like. You never know, right? I would also recommend waiting for the right moment. So you know your relationship best. Some people love intimacy. So just the two of you. And then some people love like you can make it as fun or intimate as you want. Not saying that intimate cannot be fun, but I'm thinking of previous engagements where I used to live in New York City, and it was very, very common to rent out the skating rink there by Rockefeller Center. So some people prefer like a ton of people watching and applauding, and some people like to propose in like their backyard, just the two of them. Whatever works best for you guys. But waiting for the right moment is definitely important, of course. I recommend choosing a memorable location. That way you guys can always go back and reminisce on that. And if you're a nervous person, I tend to ad-lib. So I am a nervous talker, hence sometimes I go on tangents and do this a lot. But a lot of people will find that if you write out a speech, that might be able to help you get your words out. So if you want to write it out and pull it out of your pocket, get down on one knee, that whole thing, being prepared or practicing might help, because I have a feeling there will be a lot of nerves involved. I have not proposed to anyone, but I could only imagine what a bumbling mess I might be. So I know that would help me personally. And then, of course, keeping the surprise, whether it's planned or, spur of the moment. I think the surprise element is personally fun. Some people hate surprises. Let me know what you think. Do you like surprises? Do you not? I don't know. I'm just thinking about the whole engagement ring thing. It's like, I've never been engaged, but going ring shopping could be super fun. But I almost like the idea of not knowing what you're going to get. Maybe that's a little risky. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm crazy. Actually, I know the answer is yes. And if anyone needs help, anyone watching would like help planning their proposal, that is something we can assist with, whether it's helping find a location, helping with a photographer, if you want decor involved, hit us up. You can email us at weddings@mode-event.com. All right, without further ado, let's say you are engaged and you're watching, or you're planning on getting engaged. Then what's the first step? I would recommend enjoying the moment, being present, celebrating with your loved ones. There is a hierarchy. Like some people just go straight to social media. I recommend telling your close family and friends first. That way they're in the loop and they're not just seeing a random Facebook post. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine those closest to you finding out something so important through social media? I recommend giving a call if you can. Nowadays, people are doing video calls more than phone calls sometimes, just to let them know that you got engaged. That way, again, they're not finding out on Instagram or Instagram story or something like that. Just my recommendation. On that note, if you do want to have some type of get-together, I know it's really, really hard due to COVID right now. Back in the day, I act as if that's like so long ago because it feels like it's been a while. But if you can plan a dinner or an in-person celebration at some point where it's safe, then you can do that to celebrate your engagement. Otherwise, there are lots of virtual ways too. So throughout this episode, I'm probably going to be plugging Mode Events, the company I work for, because there are so many things that we can help you with, myself, as well as I have an entire team. I'm personally in Chicago. We have an office in Vegas. We also have team members in Miami, Florida, and New York. So we can cover the world. Wherever you're located. Again, drop a message. Let me know where you are, where you're watching from. I'm always curious. I mentioned this for the actual engagement session of capturing the love. So if you can get someone to document that, that's always special to be able to look back and look at those engagement pictures. Otherwise, you can do like official engagement pictures, like an engagement session is what we call that. A lot of photographers will offer an engagement session As part of their packages, other photographers offer it as an add-on. Some almost require an engagement session. So my advice for that is to definitely do an engagement session. Even if you have a family member capture the actual proposal, I recommend scheduling a professional session with a photographer because, let's be honest, they're professionals for a reason. Their photos will probably look better than your best friend Marge. I just made that. I don't have a friend named Marge. Do you guys? I don't even know where that name came from. I swear I've only had like 2 sips of wine, but my cheeks are very rosy. So capture the love. You can use these pictures for future use for holiday cards, depending on the time of year you're getting engaged. You can even display them at the actual wedding reception. So on your welcome table, that's a really good place to put those. You can also use them for your wedding website, which we can get to later. I will note for your engagement ring, just a reminder for this, if you haven't done this when you originally bought the ring, but make sure it's engaged or insured, just in case. You never know. All right, so you're engaged, you have your ring, you insured your ring, you told your family about the engagement, you did social media posts. I recommend creating a wedding website next. So you may not have much to put on the wedding website at this time. I recommend trying to take a month of no planning, which is really, really hard because the second you get engaged, all of your friends and family are going to ask when and where the wedding is because they're excited. Even now, even if they know that in-person events cannot happen right now in the majority of the United States, I think people are looking forward to getting together once the pandemic is over. God willing, if I can put that into the universe. But a wedding website is a really great place, like a landing page, essentially, for your guests to go back to refer to, especially now with potential changes due to COVID. Wedding websites are obviously quick. You can go in and update them. If you do have to unfortunately postpone or move your wedding date, it is a quick way to get information out there versus trying to hire a stationery designer, which I think you should do. But if you just rely on paper products, the process is generally a little bit longer than electronic. So create a wedding website. There's a ton of options out there. Email us if you have any questions about this. There's a lot of free options. And then there are also customized, even more advanced options where you can pay for, but not too expensive. Zola is a really great website. The Knot.com is common. Wedding Wire, I'm sure you guys have heard of a few of those or a couple of those because they've been around for a while. But the wedding website can also have help with seating charts and letting people know where to stay, hotel accommodations, things to do during their visit if there are people visiting from out of town. So I highly, highly recommend making a wedding website, if I do say so myself. Okay, so I'm just kind of recapping on what we discussed. Engaged, insured the ring, told your family, possibly planned a engagement party. You have a wedding website. Now in terms of planning your actual wedding day, before you start going down a rabbit hole of Pinterest like I can or Instagram, I recommend creating a wedding budget, which is not, to me, in my opinion, like the most fun part of wedding planning, but it's one of the most important things. We have a whole episode early on. I actually did the episode by myself. I didn't have a guest. We have an episode just about your wedding budget. I believe it's episode 9. So if you go to YouTube and search Mode Events, Wedding Wednesdays, episode 9 has a more in-depth look of how you can outline your wedding budget. But in summary, it's a good guideline for you to have because especially for me, for floral, I could go on Pinterest and get tons of pictures that are basically from $1 million weddings. And then when I go to the florist, they're going to need to know what budget they're working with. And this is not meant to gouge you. This is not meant to get the maximum budget that they can from you. This is simply knowing what they're working with, because they don't want to recommend things to you that are outside of your budget. I mean, they do. It's like apartment hunting. Like, they're like, oh, you can spend a little bit more. But I'm talking like a buffer zone for your budget. This applies to every vendor, including your venue. That will help you during the process of scouting a venue. So again, if you need help with your budget, just email us. We are happy to talk more because we have a lot of a la carte services here at Weddings a la Mode. Cool. All right, moving on. I'm trying to keep this fast because there is a lot of information. After you've outlined your budget, that will help you find a venue and a date. Some couples prefer to focus on the date first. If there's a time of year that is meaningful to them, or if your work schedule only allows a certain period of your life to be available, you will probably want to go off of the date. And then from there, you can talk about what venues might be available to you. Otherwise, if there's a certain aesthetic or a certain style of venue that you've always wanted and dreamed of, and you don't care if it's in the summer or in the winter, I would first, you can either do time of year or wedding venue, but you basically can't secure any of the other vendors until you have that wedding date locked in. What else can I tell you? Oh, wedding inspiration. So I already mentioned this earlier on this broadcast, but Pinterest, if you're not familiar, if you don't know about Pinterest, I don't know where you came from, if you're not from Earth or something, but because I'm obsessed with Pinterest. I would assume you guys are familiar because I think it's been around for years. I'm a grandma, super old, feeling old, but that's why I drink wine to forget about that. What are you guys drinking, by the way? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Oh, good. We have a couple more viewers. Yay. Hi. It's cool. I can see at the top of my screen, there's like a little ticker on how many people are watching. So that's always exciting to know that I'm in good company. But I was saying, for decor inspiration, Pinterest is great. Instagram. You can save on Instagram photos into a shared folder, but these are really helpful. I say decor, but this can also apply for wedding attire as well as hair and makeup. But the reason to save these pictures is to show the vendors, when you start chatting with them, what you have in mind. That way you're on the same page, because I used to say contemporary and I learned that contemporary is different than modern. So people use words in different ways, and you just want to make sure that you are aligned. So they're giving you what you want. What else can I tell you? Bear with me, because I am so used to having a host, or I'm not a host, a guest. And I usually have a ton of questions for the guest, but what questions do you have for me? I'm just reading the comments here. Some people are funny. Some, not all. I have a couple people who chime in every week, and they are my friends, and they try to ask silly things to throw me off, but I will not be fooled here. Okay. Oh, someone's asking, when hiring a wedding planner, what should you look for? That's a really great question, because I am a wedding planner, so I can help you. Anytime that we get an inquiry for wedding planning services, we plan a initial consultation with the couple, and we usually outline our services and explain how we like to work with our couples, because every company is different and every company operates differently. So I usually like to find out about the couple and get to know them, see what's important to them. Some couples want to have a party, and some couples want to have an intimate affair. So, getting to know each other is really important, because the planning process can be a year to 2 years sometimes, especially with COVID. It's extended our time together. So it's really important that you get along. So what to look for, make sure that you vibe well together, which I sound like a hippie when I say that, but make sure that there's a connection. It feels like dating, honestly, when you start that planning process and start vetting vendors. It's kind of fun to see what personalities you might run into because the wedding industry is very creative and we have a lot of fun people in our industry, if I can put it that way. But yeah, I would say get to know your vendors. Feel free to ask personal questions. That's just my opinion because the wedding planning process is such an intimate process. You really, especially as a wedding planner, I really get to know about, I get to know your families and the drama. And I'll share some of my drama if it's applicable. I know that when people are planning their ceremony portion of their wedding day, that's when family issues might come up. So you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with your wedding planner talking about the not so fun stuff because we are your non-biased support system, really. Almost like a best friend that you're paying. But we're coming in, we're able to answer questions for you that, the example I always give is if you're stuck, do you choose the purple flowers because your mom likes the purple flowers? Or do you choose the blue flowers because your grandma likes the blue flowers? We're able to come in and just say, purple's best because it looks best with the space. Or you know what I mean? More of an objective response. We're not as emotionally attached. And a lot of people, this is a point that people do not consider, unfortunately, but a lot of people, when they hear about hiring a wedding planner, they think, oh, it's an added cost. It's another vendor to pay for, more money to be spent. Only the elite have a wedding planner. Things have changed over the years. I'm very grateful for. But if you have that sentiment, if you hear the idea of hiring a wedding planner turns you off, or you start worrying about your budget, my argument to that would be that we ultimately will save you money. So you're spending money to save money. Similar to the phrase, you have to spend money to make money. You have to spend money on a wedding planner sometimes to save money because we are knowledgeable of the market. And we know what the common going rates are, so to say, for vendors. We will help make sure that we read through the contracts with you to make sure you're not price gouged. So at the end of the day, if you're working with a good wedding planner, you will be saving money. So I'll just let that sink in if that is not something you've considered in the past. But we're experts. We do this. I wish I could say we do this every weekend. Some planners might during a non-COVID and non-pandemic time, but we do this all the time. So you're in good hands. It's like I always get pained when people say, oh, well, my family member is going to help me plan my wedding, which is fine. It's not to say they're not going to do a good job. But the majority of people who do not do this full time, day in and day out, they will likely not be as knowledgeable and experienced and connected. Like sometimes we can help hook it up. I sound like a drug dealer, don't I? Ugh, I'm not, promise. That's going to go in the bloopers for sure at the end of the year. End of the year bloopers. Me saying, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm sure the owners of my company are like, what you saying, Linz? That's what happens when you leave me all alone. That's what happens. I do have Sheridan in the background, who is our show producer, and oftentimes I think he's just like, what? But yeah, I think those are the main things. I think I covered the main things to consider. I could go down this whole rabbit hole of the wedding planning process, but I would first advise to think about your budget, and then also before you can book any other vendors, you have to find your venue. So before all of that, I would say hire a wedding planner, because we can help you with your budget, and we can help you find a venue, and we can help you land on a date. We can help you with everything. Where are my wedding planners at? Woo woo. Oh, I see a couple in the room, and I see a Santa Claus. I don't know. Maybe they were inspired by this. This is my very weak attempt, but I'm very proud of my holiday decor. So thank you for that, DJ Slip. Cool. So yeah, I'll post our website below, and I will post our email address. If you have any questions, I would love to dive deeper. I'm super chatty, so I could go on and on and on about wedding planning, but I just want to kind of cover in a nutshell what to start with so you don't get overwhelmed. Because you will find, like I mentioned, as soon as you get engaged, people will start asking questions, and they're going to offer to help you, which is lovely, but I know that it can be quite overwhelming. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. We, again, will not be live next week, but we will have some type of visual to show you guys at the same time, which is 7 o'clock Central. Most likely we're going to do a recap video or something like that. So should be fun. But if I don't talk to you watching, those who are watching in the next few days, have a wonderful holiday season, and we will see you right before the new year. I will sign off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great night. Bye.